Hey guys, welcome back once again to Breath of Fire. When we last left off, we were about to go into McNeil Village, and I was gushing about this game, and about how it was pretty much the sole reason I bought a PlayStation, which I am so glad I bought a PlayStation. You wouldn't believe the amount of rare games I've, lost over the years. I moved a lot during the PlayStation era, the 64 PlayStation era. Like, the house I'm living in now, when we moved in here, it was 64 era. I lost about 4 games. Yeah. Oh, they're thieves, huh? Anyway, I lost about 4 games. One of them was Perfect Dark, and I was sorely pissed off about losing that game. Like, I went to go and find it and play it. It wasn't in the box I thought it was in. I don't know. Doesn't this just beat all? That's Ray's catchphrase. Ooh. You know, I was actually listening to one of the videos. Because I watch a couple of minutes of the videos to give them a name. And I didn't realize you could actually hear when I scratch my my goatee. See, you can hear it. That's what that is. I forgot to turn my timer on. Oh well, if it's a couple minutes over, it's a couple minutes over. Oh, cool, equipment. Hey, you gonna go buy me some equipment? That's awesome. Wait. No, it's wrong. But yeah, you'd be surprised how many games I've gotten just randomly that I wish I still had. You know, because I found out years later they're worth lots of money. Wait, what? No! Damn. The copy of Breath of Fire 3 I'm playing on now is actually the 3rd copy of this game I've owned. The first copy I bought with my own money, saved up for a while, and I took it to... Everybody was taking their... game systems with us. We were, oh god, how long ago was this? It was a long time ago. Still in the heyday of the Nintendo 64 and PlayStation. I took my PlayStation and one of my cousins took his Nintendo 64 and we went to Mississippi, which is 2 states over. I live in Texas. It's about an 8-hour drive. It's a very small town in Mississippi to visit my aunt. My family is originally from Mississippi, I think. They own a lot of land over there. Although I've lived all my life here in Texas. I was born in Texas. But, anyway, my dad's side of the family. That's an anachronism there, Ray. Great. They're thugs. But anyway, first copy of this game I owned was... I'm going to talk to everybody so you can read the stuff. It'll just give background about the area, the situation and stuff. Like I say, in the first copy of this game, and I brought Breath of Fire and was it my PlayStation or was it my brother's? My brother's actually, and I just brought some games. Yeah, I think that's true. It wasn't my PlayStation. I brought a CD case full of games though, and one of the games I brought was Breath of Fire 3. And we sat up there and we visited. We went to the pool. We stayed up there for 4 weeks, all summer. And we sat up there and we played video games. We took turns. We all watched. The four of us, there was four of us there. Me, my brother, and... No, there was five of us. Was Luke there? I think he was. There was five of us. Me, my brother, and three of my cousins. And we, let's go this way. Talk to the NPCs. Anyway, we played video games. My brother brought Spyro the Dragon and Resident Evil Director's Cut. And my cousin brought his Nintendo 64 and Super Mario 64. And I brought Breath of Fire 3 and a couple other games that nobody played. I just brought them just in case. Lee's a Garden Manor, yep. Oh yeah, by the way, everyone has field actions where I use this to cut, and you can actually mug people. You go up to them, sometimes you can get money to pop out of them, never more than a couple of zenny. I don't usually bother doing it. Cutting down the bushes can be lucrative at the beginning of the game, though. Anyway, we spent the whole summer, we beat Resident Evil. I remember we got stuck. My aunt took us to the mall in Tupelo, Mississippi. And, 5 zenny, awesome. And we went to an EB Games. It was the first time I had ever been into an EB Games. And I remember we were stuck on Resident Evil on this one part. There's a part where you have to open a book or something, if I remember correctly, and get a medallion out of it. You have to turn it sideways and open it. I mean, we were stuck. We couldn't figure out. I mean, because that was the only time in the game you had to do that. And you never had to do it before. So we were stuck. So I had the smart idea. I'm in there looking in the strategy guides, and I figured out what to do. And then we beat that game. But I also used all of the money my mother gave me for the entire trip to buy a Breath of Fire 3 strategy guide. Because they had one, and I was like, oh, I want that. And I bought it. Bought it and I learned it. Anyway, and I got up all the way to Momo's Tower. And then my cousin came in and said he wanted to play a different game. I said, well, alright, that's fine. Anyway, I took the game out, set it on the bed, and I bent down to get my CD case to put my Breath of Fire 3 in, and one of my other cousins came running in and did a flying elbow leap onto the bed and destroyed my Breath of Fire 3. I was so angry. Oh my god. And then he didn't even apologize. That particular cousin of mine, he got a lot of stuff growing up, like... For him, it wasn't, you know, a big deal to break a game. But for me, who had to pay for all of my own games, that was a very big deal. Okay, so you might be wondering why I killed Ryu. I'll explain that in a minute. Just know that I'm going to be keeping him dead for a little bit. Anyway, that was the first copy of the game I owned. About 6 months later, I found another copy of the game. And I bought it. I saved up and bought it. And that copy of the game just wore out from use. I mean, I had that game for about... I still have the disc for that game. Just wore out from use. You know, just typical scratch, you know, taking it in and out of the PlayStation, things like that. So this is the third copy of the game I've owned. And this copy is different from the previous 2 copies I owned. And I'll point out the small little differences. I don't know... Anyway. The big difference, to let you know if you have one copy or another, is in my original 2 copies, the attack raising item was called Ginseng. But in this copy, it's called a vodka shot. That's the big difference between the 2 as far as I can see. But I've owned 3 copies of this game. 4 if you count the PSP version I own. Anyway, that's my history with Breath of Fire, I guess. Went on a little bit too much there instead of about talking about the game. But you gotta remember, I'm excited about this game. And cut the bush. Thank you. Anyway, let me talk about what I'm trying to do with Ryu here. Oh, a gong head. Well, first things first. Pilfer? Because that ain't gonna kill the gong head. Now, what he just said there, it means something like, I'll be having that. Something like that? Yeah, whatever. Anyway, you want to have Ray pilfer every chance you can get. The only thing that's really not worth stealing from are those rippers, because they only give you berries, and berries restore 5 HP. The gong heads are really worth stealing from because they give you a vitamin if you steal from them. Now, the reason I'm keeping Ryu dead is because of the fact that... Let's put Ray here and put us in attack formation. Now, the reason I'm keeping Ryu dead is because this game has a... Oh, I didn't grab the bag. This game has a system called the Master System, and, well, you get stat boosts for gaining levels under a specific person. You get stat boosts and penalties. Like if you're under a master that specializes in magic, you'll get more AP and intellect, but you'll get less power and defense. So, I want to maximize the amount of levels, you know, Ryu gets under a master. Now, that's not to say that this is entirely required to have an easy time with the game. This game is not very hard at all. None of the bosses are exceptionally difficult. Just run into it like this! With the rascals Tipo and Ray. I don't know who you're talking about. Yeah, but, you know, masters. And another thing is you learn abilities, really good abilities, if you gain levels under them. And I want to use Ryu as kind of a level mule for the first master. And he'll be a little physically weaker at first, but it evens out as the game goes on. So I'm not really worried about it. There's actually 2 things you can do, and I'll explain them later. The first one is after a certain point in the game, there's 2 masters. One of them is a physical master, one of them is a magical master. The magical master is available much sooner, well, not much sooner, like a sequence before the physical master. Now, if you want a more balanced Ryu, you can go ahead and just level. If you want a more physically dominating Ryu, and you will get an incredibly physically dominating Ryu, you can just put him on that one master, leave him at level 1, put him on that master, get him up to like level 9 or so, and just go on. And he will be physically strong. Now, first things first. Now, I'll talk about skills in a moment, but if you examine an enemy, like this Ripper here, you can actually learn a skill if they use it. Certain skills, not all of them. And they don't talk about this, but actually some enemies do special effects when you hit them with certain skills. Like, for example, the Eye Goos. If you hit them with Blind, well, they give you an asinine amount of experience for this point in the game. Now, let's see. Pilfer. Pilfer from the Eye Goos as much as you can, because they give free herbs. Like I said, don't bother stealing from the Rippers. It's really not worth it. Damn it. Go ahead. Now, there's a couple of abilities you want to get before you continue on with the game. Blind is real important to get, especially if you're keeping Ryu dead, because after you get to a master that you want to train Ryu under, it'll allow you to fight the Eye Goos and get lots of experience quickly. So you want to get Blind. You learn Blind from the Rippers. There is 2 other abilities you can learn at this point that are important for later on. One of them is Burn from the Mage Goos, and the other is Learn from the Boss Goblins. I forget exactly what it's called. Let me quickly talk about this. This is a battlefield. They appear randomly on the world map. You can choose whether to go in them or not. There is always an item bag in them. One item bag. So, and it can have anything in it from healing items, antidotes, things like that. Stat boosting items, like power foods or life shards. Swallow eyes, although that's much later in the game. Equipment. Usually the equipment is like one level below the area you're in if you're lucky enough to find some equipment. And then, of course, the most important item, in my opinion, is bait. You can find bait for fishing. Now, there are several points in the game you get locked out of an area where you can buy bait, so it becomes a really good idea, or at least it becomes impractical to go back and buy bait, because you have to do something like go through a volcano to get back to where they sell the bait. But you can go into the random battlefields and do a couple, get some free items, get some experience, find some bait. That's what I do. Now, I'm going to go ahead and stop the video here. Defeat these 3 Eye Goos, kill Ryu, well, not in that order. Kill Ryu, then defeat them, and then I'll meet you back outside, and we'll continue on. Alright, see you then.